Hello, and welcome everybody. Um, Glad to see that you're all there. I can't actually see you, but you know what I mean. But welcome to the Google Digital Garage training on building a CV and cover letter. My name is Chummy, and I'm going to be presenting these slides through to you, and of course, discussing certain issues around and exploring things that we can talk about CV and letter writing, particularly cover letter writing. Now, a couple of things to mention. Something about myself, I suppose, to start off with. I used to run my own digital agency. Before that, I was in corporate marketing. So I'm pretty much familiar with this kind of how to receive CVs as well as writing CVs and cover letters. But just before I start off, just to let you know, along with me, I've got Tessa who's going to be doing the moderation. So she's going to be on the chat box and are helping you to answer some of the questions and that kind of stuff. But just a couple of things on the housekeeping front. So if you are having issues seeing this webinar, you may want to refresh your page right now. But if you're already watching us, that means that everything's fine as it is. So a couple of other things. If you want to join in the instant chat today, please feel free to do that. You need a YouTube account, and you need to be signed into that YouTube account to be able to right away. As I said, Tessa's also a digital trainer, and she's able to answer any questions. And so please feel free to talk away whilst I'm going through this. Any questions that you may have, I'm going to cover off at certain parts of this presentation. But during whilst I'm talking things through, please feel free to share your ideas amongst the group. I can see that there's lots of people from different parts of the world here. Syed from Bangladesh and Vanko from Germany. And I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your names properly. I've got problems pronouncing my own name. And my name is Chame, as I said. So as I slowly start off, today's workshop or this webinar is broken up into three main areas. We're going to be able, at the end of this session, for you to be aware of things like how to build your CV. So here we're using information that we can collect, ideas around what to put on your CV, and what you could be thinking about to develop your CV if you've already got one. Then we're going to discuss things like cover letters and what are cover letters, how you can use cover letters to talk about your experiences, skills, strengths, goals, and that kind of stuff. And then we're going to have a little discussion about doing a job search, finding out where the jobs are, if that's what you're looking for. And presumably that is what you're looking for, because that's why you're here, and to help you on that too. So as we progress, before I start off again, and I'm sure that Tessa will be sharing this link with you in the chat box. If you're ready and looking to improve your job skill set and everything, something that you might not be aware of so far is the Google Careers Certificate. Now, this is a kind of stuff that's available from Google for free. It's online training designed to earn job-ready skills in, well, high growth and high demand careers such as IT support, project management, data analytics, and UX design, that's usability. There's no relevant experience or degree required. And here in the UK, you can access the Google certificate for absolutely free. In your own regions, you may have to look it up, because I'm not entirely certain, because of different regions around the world that people are joining us from. Okay, so what I like to ask is, at this stage, what are your career aspirations? So in the chat, you might want to share with us. And you know what? It's nice to have people communicating in the chat while I'm talking through all these ideas. So if you are brave enough, if you want to, please share what kind of things that you're looking for to do after this session, or, you know, using the knowledge that you gain from this session. So in the chat, if you want to put in, what are your career aspirations? What are the kind of things that you're looking forward to doing? So letting you type away while I carry on talking. So here in this section, what I like to start off with is talking about building your CV. We're going to show you things like a templated approach. But you know what? This is not the only way to do things. And the important thing for you to be aware of is be mindful about the options available to you. So you need to be flexible in how you present yourself based on the industry that you're in. And that's really, really important. And also the kind of jobs that you might want to do, like to do, desire to do, and the companies that you might want to work for. Now, this is a common theme that I'm going to be saying over and over again as we go through this session. The more targeted your CV is to the application of the job or the company that you're going for, the better the result will be. So one of the crucial things is think about your CV, getting the information that's appropriate for the company job with or the opportunity with, and match your CV to the job description that they've got on offer. But I'll explore that with you in a few moments' time. So another quick question, just to keep you occupied and make sure the purpose of a CV is. Well, we're here to talk about CVs, but just think about the kind of obvious things at the beginning, because that will help you build up your foundations as we go through. So again, if you want to write something in the chat box, brilliant. If you don't, that's fine too. But just asking the question, what do you think is the primary purpose of your CV? As you're thinking about that, let me just explain that curriculum vitae, which is the longer version of the word or the acronym CV, means the course of your life. I think it's a Cambridge English Dictionary, although I prefer the Collins, states that a CV is a short written description of your education, your qualification, previous jobs, and also your personal interests that you send to an employer trying to get a job. But the important thing is this: your CV should reflect your life's experiences and not just a list of the jobs and the qualifications you have. It's the kind of thing that an organization sees about you. So it's a course of your life. Now, with that in mind, a couple of things to bear in mind about your CV. And it's important for you to think about these things as we go through the talk. It's the first contact that you have with your employer. So it's kind of first thing that people see. And you probably heard other things about the fact that people only spend seconds on your CV, minutes if you're lucky. And when you get called to interview, that's a different step altogether. We'll explore that in a minute. But it's a summary of your experiences. So think about your CV going beyond just simply stating your work experience. Because, a tiny proportion, some people say it's about 2% of candidates will get to the interview stage. So you're going through loads of different filtering before you get to the interview stage. So think about putting out the stuff in your CV that's relevant to the kind of things that the company is looking for. So be goal orientated and be relevant to the job application that you're going for and the company. And of course, the important thing is to be honest and authentic about yourself. You're representing yourself on a piece of paper or digitally as these days, but it's important to, again, think about what it is a potential employer is asking in terms of filling up a vacancy that they have. Right, so with that in mind, let's ask the question, well, what information should you include in the CV then? Because there's lots of things to include and there's lots of things not to include too. But again, this webinar, we're going to explore the kind of main ideas about what to kind of include in your CV. So these are the kind of, again, a templated structured form. But you know what? The more relevant you are to the application, I keep on saying this over and over again, the better the focus will be in terms of getting that application successful. So kind of basic information would be things like your name, some kind of where you're living, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go through this in detail in a few moments' time. The opening summary would be like your personal profile, something to grab people's attention even before they go through your education. And Fatima, thank you for writing those things. Absolutely. Something to grab people's attention with your personal profile, your opening summary. Then you've got your work experience, something again that it is relevant to what the kind of company that you want to work with or the job application you're going for in terms of the position itself. something that's relevant, put it down. If you haven't got much work experience, then think about all the other things that you could include in terms of voluntary things that you've done, other roles that you've been in through education. But we'll explore that in a few moments' time, like I said. The education and achievements and skills and strengths are equally important in terms of painting yourself in a better light, putting the color into the picture, into the painting, that kind of thing. So with that in mind, we'll go through these elements in a tiny bit of detail. So with the kind of basic information, quite clearly have your name there, because otherwise people won't know who you are. And you know what? My name is Chummy, and if you don't know any other Chummies, you don't know if I'm male or female or whatever gender it is. So sometimes what I do is I put Chummy, my surname, and him, he, him, just to say that I'm male, if that's important to people. I don't know if it is or not, but that's one thing that you can think about. In terms of the address, you could put your full address if you want, but again, thinking about safeguarding and other issues, I appreciate that there's an international audience, so just putting it out there for you to be aware of this. At the very minimum, I would include some kind of a postcode or a zip code or a code that identifies your location, because majority of the CVs that you'd be sending out will be put into a database, and it could be searched for location, candidates within 5 miles of that workplace. And if you don't have an address there of some form, you can't be filtered. So think about that. And again, things like contact information, your email, I suppose, is really, really important. Otherwise, how are they going to communicate with you? And other things like, for example, your mobile number. Again, if it's something quick that they need to fill in terms of a vacancy within their company, they can get in touch with you. And other kind of information. Well, again, this is up for kind of discussion, but things like if you have a visa to work in a particular part of the world, or your nationality, that could be of interest. Again, these things aren't kind of set in stone. It's more about what is appropriate for that company or region that you are in. Things like your date of birth. Now, that's not really important, because in certain regions, and I'm thinking about certain regions because there seems to be a global audience here today, people, it's age discrimination, so you don't have to put your date of birth. But you know what? If people really want to find out how old you are, they just look at your exams and when you did your exams and that kind of stuff. So again, something to think about. Now, other issues or other attributes that you might want to put down, for example, a driving license might be appropriate, put that down, or any other accreditations or portfolio links, depending on the kind of job that you're going for. So again, things like certification for certain roles, just accountancy, project management, that kind of thing. Put that down in terms of other information. In terms, Fatima, you asked the question, shall we add a picture? I know that there's certain parts, for example, I lived in Germany for a few years, and there you put your photo there on your CV as a part of the application. It really depends on the regions that you work in. Majority of the time, you don't have to put a CV. You don't have to have a photo on your CV, but sometimes people do include that. There's a little trick from this side of the fence, because I've also worked with many, many people across the many years I've been on the planet, and majority of the time, we'll talk about this a bit later on, the first thing that many people do, including recruiters, is look up your LinkedIn profile. And if they want the photo, they grab the photo from there. So it really depends on what Syed, we're going to talk about our CV more machine readable a little bit later on. We're talking about keywords and formatting. I'll explain that a little bit later on. So moving on from photos and our machine readable CVs, other things to think about in terms of your CV as a kind of a foundation. So think about your personal profile. Here it says 2 or 3 sentences. I suggest a few more sentences than that, because that's what grabs people's attention in terms of what they see as a person when they look at the pages that's in front of them. So here, think about an elevator pitch. If you're not familiar with that phrase, or if you heard that phrase before and you're thinking, what does that mean? An elevator pitch, in essence, is like a summarized version of what you want to say really quickly. It comes from perhaps being trapped or stuck in a lift or an elevator, depending on which regions you are in, with a person that you want to impress, how quickly you can say what you do succinctly. That's in a condensed, compact way. Describe yourself in terms of the kind of things that you've done. So opportunity to tell the employer what you're looking for, what you're about, what your strengths are, and the kind of stuff that you've also done. Things like unpaid work, voluntary work, ambitions and aspirations. It's really important to grab people's attention with that first phrase, because that's what's going to get them to read beyond that. So with that in mind, then the work experience. Now, some of you may have already worked in their industry or the field that you want to go into. Other people may want to go into a new place. Now, kind of things to think about is reverse chronological order. That's to say, put the most recent job at the top of your page, and the most kind of the one that you did far away long time ago at the bottom. So think about putting your jobs broken down into company, the job title, and the dates that you worked there. This is also very relevant because, as I said beforehand, make your application relevant to the job that you're going for. So any key projects or results that you got from doing that work, put that down there. And you know what? Just touching upon the fact that if you haven't worked, paid work or unpaid work, but you have volunteered or you had your interest there, that's how you can fill up those kind of areas. So in terms of work experience, you may have it, you may not have it, but anything relevant that you've done to the kind of applications that you're going for, put that down. Now, in terms of the education, again, put the most recent qualifications at the top. So it could be an MBA followed by a bachelor's, followed by your advanced level, followed by your schooling and all that kind of stuff. Also, you may have things like professional qualifications, for example, in accountancy. I have a problem. I'm just answering Ag's question. I have a problem with how to briefly summarize the whole job. What do I do? Okay, I'm going to just let Tessa just touch upon that. But in essence, think about the job application that you're going for, and then try to make that relevant to what you've done, as opposed to your proper. Because you know what? As we're going to explore later on, you're the solution to a problem that the company is having. So provide that solution by suggesting what you've done that is relevant. Carrying on with just this slide that I've got on the screen, think about any kind of professional qualifications that you've got, for example, in accountancy or whatever the other field that you may be going in for. And also things like key projects and any research that you've done. This could be from academic research to commercial research, any projects, special projects, that's again relevant to the kind of stuff that you'll be doing. By stuff, what I mean is whether it's the actual job itself or some aspect of the job that you're going for. So again, just stepping back a bit before we move forward, think about the applications you're going for, the job applications you're going for, the company you're working for, and then match what you've done, what you've got in terms of experience and your qualifications to say, yes, I can do that role. In terms of skills and strengths, now, important thing here is that think about skills and strengths as like the qualities that people may describe you, or you may describe yourself. You've got soft and technical skills, and we'll go into this in a few moments' time. This includes kind of a range of skills from things that make you able to communicate through to technical abilities that you may have. Things like leadership, resilience, teamwork, communications, confidence. Don't worry about writing all this down. I'm going to talk about that in the next few moments. And of course, think about how these attributes are related to the job description. As I said, the job description is so important for any job that you go for, because the job description outlines what the company is, what the kind of role is, what they're looking for. And all you have to do is skillfully match what you've done, what experience you've got, the exam qualifications you've got to the job description. Because you know what? You're the solution to the problem that the company has and the problem they've stated on their job description. So this is the important things about the skills and strengths. You might be really, really good at, I don't know, baking. Unless you're going to go for a baking job, I wouldn't just put down baking, for example. However, I can say something like baking involves a lot of project management skills, because you've got to realize what's happening on the kind of going to the oven, buying the food, having the ingredients, having it prepared at the right time. So it depends on how you state what you're good at in terms of the application and the job that you're going for. So with that in mind, just carrying on. Right, let's think about the skills that you've got. You may have heard about soft skills and hard skills and all that kind of stuff. So let's explore kind of what are soft skills and hard skills. And I'll break it down into another skill, digital skills. But soft skills, in essence, I actually consider soft skills hard skills, because this is dealing with people. And just to remind you people, excusing the pun, the greatest asset any organization has is its people. And it's really important that people deal with people, communicate with people. So here we're talking about things like leadership. We're thinking about teamwork. We're thinking about communications. No, keep on saying things. We like to hear people saying things, so keep it coming. So soft skills are kind of things that are allow you to do things with people and move things around. So it could be presentation skills. It could be things like that. Hard skills, of course, things are more technical. So for example, from accountancy through to coding, through to speaking another language, all those kind of aspects of kind of the technical aspects of your job role. You're probably aware of this because you managed to get onto the webinar and you're familiar with digital and things like that, people. So here we're thinking about coding, video editing, and of course, social media, because that in itself is a skill that's developed very, very recently. I only found out that Google's only been around for 25 years. Man, what did we do before that? But digital skills, again, is another subset of the kind of skills that you can demonstrate in terms of what you've been able to do. So it could be things like using YouTube, editing on YouTube, broadcasting on YouTube, through to Excel, Microsoft Excels, and then Google's Sheets, through to data bases, that kind of thing. Right, people. So breaking it down into this kind of thing. So here we've got skills to include on your CV. As you can see, these are color coded, and you've got some soft skills and some hard skills. Things like, you know, teamwork, communication, presentation, leadership, networking, or I think nowadays they call it connecting. Those are all soft skills that I consider to be hard skills, because you know what? You could be so technically able, but if you're not communicating with your team, if you can't lead a team, if you can't be a part of a team, then that's going to be difficult. Whereas other aspects of things like coding, if you are going to be a coder or a programmer, graphic design, video editing, or logistics, they're all the kind of technical aspects. You know, you might go into tax law, and man, whoa, that's technical. So think about breaking your skill sets into soft and hard, and make it more biased. That is to say, more favored in the direction that the job application and the job description is all about. So here we go, people. How are we going to define your strengths? So this obviously here. Sorry, Fatima just asked, what makes a CV acceptable or read by the ATS system? Fatima, I'm going to talk about that in a few moments' time, along with Saeed, when he asked about machine learning in a second. Back to this for a second, though. If we stick on the actual slides itself, the flow will be much more absorbable as we go through this webinar. So, but please do keep the questions coming. So here we're talking about your strengths. Here is a time for you to take a little moment to step back and think about all the stuff that you like doing, that you're good at doing, and what your strengths are. So things like, in essence, what makes you good? I've got many, but my personal saying is, you don't have to be the best. You have to be the only. That is to say, stand out from the crowd. If you've got a mindset of, oh, how can I be better than that person? Well, you might be squandering some time. Think about yourself in terms of the attributes that you've got. You are unique. Everybody here is unique as a human being. So here we're thinking about what do you like doing? What makes you stand out from everybody else? And you know what? What achievements have you had to date? Because that doesn't mean that it's going to stop. But what have you done so far that demonstrates that? And particularly, again, focus on the applications you're going for. So again, as I quickly move on to the next slide, think about attributes or words that you can describe yourself. And we're going to go through this in a few moments' time. But words such as enthusiastic, diligent, team player, enjoying helping people, self-motivated, solution-focused, adaptable, analytical. But remember that analytical doesn't always mean that you like working with numbers. You could enjoy solving problems. My first degree was in chemistry, and man, I've not used chemistry a lot. That's why I went into marketing. If you're driven, if you're passionate, if you're caring, if you're dynamic, these are the kind of words, the adjectives that you can use to describe yourself. So with that in mind, think about, again, including these keywords in your description. And again, I'm slowly starting for those two people that asked about the automated systems that check for keywords. These are the words that the systems are looking for, along with other things, keywords that I'll speak about in a moment. But things like if you're enthusiastic, if you enjoy helping people, if you're dependable, if you're hardworking, and of course, make sense of those words. If you just put that word, it doesn't make much sense. But if you say something like, I'm really enthusiastic about this role because this is the kind of stuff that I've done before and this is the kind of achievements that I've got in the past. So bring the sentences to life with the keywords that you're using. Here we're talking about strengths. Run it, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name properly. I've got problems with names. Like I said, we're going to talk about ideal length of CV in a few moments' time. But like I said, stick to the kind of the format of this webinar, and all these will be covered. And I will talk about that. But you know, people talk about 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages. Well, 2 pages is ideal, but you know what? It doesn't always have to be. But I'll get to that in a little while's time. It's really important, people, as you're showing your journey of life, your curriculum vitae, your CV, to showcase your experiences, particularly if you don't have much work experience within the field that you're going for, because your experiences matter, because that makes up kind of your input to the team that you'll be joining within the company that you'll be going into. So things like, for example, if you've done internships, if you had work experience, paid or unpaid, part-time jobs, volunteering, certificates, and like, as I said beforehand, achievements. And again, don't forget things like your hobbies or extracurricular activities that support the kind of stuff that you're going into. So it could be a personal trainer. You might be involved in coaching up other groups. It could be younger people in your school through to university or in a gym. But all those kind of things that are relevant to the application that you're making, put that down. And it's really important that you think about all the other activities of your life so far that you could dive into and think to yourself, yeah, I've got that experience because I've been doing that. Sometimes life is busy and things are hitting you all the time, and you forget that you've actually may have done some of the aspects of the things that are required from the job application, the job description, that you've already done. It's just making you aware of it and skillfully putting that into your CV. Right. So within the kind of experience, the date, and that kind of stuff, just think about these kind of 3 questions or important things to reflect upon. What did you do in the jobs that you've done, or the experiences, or the hobbies that you're up to? What did you achieve? But achieve, what I mean is something that you may have, set a goal to get, and you got it. Alternatively, you produced some work which was outstanding, unexpected, or you were proud to talk about. And the important thing then is to relate that to the role that you're going for. So it could be a technical role. It could be more of a kind of a human development thing. It could be something on stage. It could be video editing, whatever the kind of stuff that you're capable of doing. Put that down in terms of the experiences that you had to lead you to believe that you can do the role that you're going for. As I said, there are different formats, and this is just an idea to kind of get into your mind about the elements of your CV. Now, here we're talking about the machine or readable and the ATS systems, which in essence talks about the fact that majority of CVs now are automatically read by machines. Either it's just scanned for keywords and or more sophisticated artificial intelligence, or is it absence of intelligence? I don't know what AI means. I'm joking, of course, but it's artificially intelligence-led investigation of the stuff, the content of what you put down the CV. Now, a couple of things on this front. This is even before I start talking about the layout. Your CV is most often, depending on the size of the organization, whether it be a recruitment agency or a large corporate, is put through a machine, basically a scan read. And it's looking for keywords. And the keywords, a bit like keywords analysis, is looking for anything that matches on with the job description. The job description, as I said beforehand, lays out the company, what the company does, what the role is, what the tasks are, what the company is looking for. And then the machine is looking for, or the machine code is looking for, how that tallies or matches with your CV. So again, when you're writing your CV, think about keyword analysis, keyword emphasis. That is to say, be more visible with the keywords you're using. Match that with the kind of stuff, the content of the job description. Now, beyond that, of course, make it real, authentic, ethical. It's got to be within the kind of what you've done, your experiences, and that kind of stuff. But think about using the keywords that are in the job description. That's the first thing. Second thing is kind of a layout. You may have sent your CV to recruitment companies, and they often ask for it in a Word format or a simple document. The reason is that majority of the CVs nowadays are stripped of all the format and put into their own format. So I'm going to explore this in a few moments' time. My reflection is keep your CV clean and simple so that the main elements are there and they can be picked out by either a machine or, if you're lucky, a human being. But think about, the elements that we spoke about beforehand. So things like your contact, your opening statement, or your personal profile, same thing. Your experiences, your skills, your education, and then references if that's important, but certainly your extracurricular activities. Here are some formats that you can format yourself in a way to show your CV, but they're not the only way. Let me just highlight these two. Any suggestion? Nazim has just said, any suggestion on opening summary for a CV and what the ideal length of the same? Okay, Nazim, I apologize about pronouncing your name. In essence, think about your opening statement. We're going to go through that in a few moments' time to grab people's attention for the relevant job you're going for. If you're going to write a CV and send it out to 100 companies, the same CV, you're probably going to get a better rate of success if you send out 5 or 10 more targeted to each company. The more generic your CV is, the less likelihood you're going to get picked out. The more focused you can be, the better it is. And I'll explore that in terms of your opening summary in a few moments' time. But right now, on this, we've got number 1 and number 2 CVs, people. What's your opinion of number 1 and number 2? What do you think is good? What do you think is bad? Fill up the comment in the chat box. What do you think, people, as I carry on? But you've got, obviously 2 stark different CVs. Any ideas about number 1 or number 2? You lot are quiet. Type away. There's Tessa waiting for you to interact with you. So quite clearly, you got one with a more graphic interface and one with less of a graphic interface. I've had somebody that gave me a CV. They were going for a graphic designer job. And it was almost like a mini website. I was blown away. The design of it, the flow of it, and everything. But I also knew, put that through a machine, that was not going to be read. And you know what? That's going to be the first filtering process. CVs aren't most often seen by a human being first time around. They're put through filtering systems to put the volume, break down the volume from 100 CVs to 5 they're going to actually see. So think about making it clear. If you want to go for a creative position, you can attach a portfolio that demonstrates your creativity and your prowess in your design skills. Keep it clear and to the point and cover off the main elements. So think about professional, easy to read format, clear sections, black text on white, usually easy to read, that kind of thing. Oh, and thank you very much for all those people that are typing in their feedback on this. Yeah, hi, I'm Harry. Well done. Yeah. So again, just maximizing your input. Let's think about that. So write in a clear and concise manner. That's to say, summarize your experiences in complete sentences or bullet points. You know what? Just to reflect upon myself. I've not written a CV for a long time. Maybe I should write one. But I spoke to one of my colleagues, one of my friends, who was a senior headhunter in a recruitment firm. And we were talking about how many pages to write. And 2 is typical. That's fine. But he said, Chummy, you've got loads of experience. And you know what? Think about the filtering process. So the last time I wrote a CV, I think there was about 5 pages. But the reason I did that was because I was conscious of the fact that I had to get through the filtering of the keywords. So I put loads of keywords there. And you know what? If a human being wanted to read that, they would read all of that. But again, the most likelihood is that they'll read the personal profile and then get on to the experiences that I have. And then if it's relevant, all the other bits and pieces. But at each stage, think about the process you're going through, the filtering process, get the clear evidence of the ability for you to do that job, and then pad it out with other things that may trigger off a greater success in the automated picking out through a machine scanning. Where possible, try to avoid jargon and all that kind of stuff, because you know what, abbreviations and other kind of shortened versions of it may not be familiar to everybody. So state it out. And again, that helps with visibility on the kind of searching that people will be doing. And another thing is making people understand what you've done. For example, instead of saying, I was responsible for creating the vision of the 2023 vision strategy to maximize our clients' input, say, I created a plan to increase sales by 10%. Say what you've done instead of like too flowery language. And it's really important to be transparent. So if you have any gaps in your CV, be honest about these gaps and explain what they are. You might have been traveling, you might have been studying, you might have been looking after unwell family. And again, don't embellish your previous roles and responsibilities, because later on, if you do get an interview, they will ask you questions about it, and you might stumble on that. So again, be transparent, but also be authentic and honest. If you have a chance, always get your CV read by somebody else that hopefully is a good friend. That they'll tell you what's wrong with it. Because if somebody says, "Oh, that's really, really brilliant. That's really brilliant," they might not be helping you the best way. Make sure that your CV is proofread. Avoid the simple kind of spelling and grammar mistakes, but also that people could read it and understand what you've written. Because sometimes the way that your message is sent is not always received the way that you sent it. So by having somebody else checking it, that helps. Right, as we move on from here, people, I'm going to pause here, but I think you've been asking loads of questions and getting Tessa to answer them. So let me just carry on answering this, and I can move on to the next slide in a second. As a senior position, I always find it difficult to compress experience into a few sentences, or is it better to give bullet points? Okay. I think bullet points, my personal preference and my personal reflection, is a good idea, because you know what? You could summarize quite a lot in a way that's easily digestible by not just the human being, but also the machine that goes through all the filtering and puts the CV in front of a person. So yes, I think that's a good idea to have bullet points, because again, you can pack in so much. Like in the skills section, instead of saying project management, event management, or program management, as well as the actual stuff that you've done, the soft skills, hard skills, if you just put a bullet point for each thing, most people realize what it is. And then in the job description, that explains what you've done too. So yeah, bullet points. Any other questions? Keep them coming, people, but I'm going to keep on moving, because here we're talking about cover letters. For people who aren't familiar with cover letters is a letter that you send along with a CV. Now, let me explain at this stage something about the process. This is a game. If you know the rules of the game, you can play that game a little bit better. I'm talking about the CVs, job application, all that kind of stuff. I don't mean that in a flippant or a kind of a light-hearted way, but you know, if you understand the rules of the game, then you can play the game better, any game. And here, a cover letter again helps massively with your application. A cover letter also, like I've got loads of colleagues still running their own companies and things like that, friends. And they ask for a cover letter, not necessarily just to read the cover letter, but just to see if you can be bothered to write a cover letter. Because if you can be bothered to write a cover letter, that means that you're interested in working for that company, and it's not just a CV that you're sending out. So think about this. And then the statistics or the stats prove it, or demonstrate this. 40% of recruiters say that they look for a cover letter on application. 45% of recruiters say that if you don't have a cover letter, that they reject CV straight away. So you might have a superb CV. You might have spent loads of time on your CV. You might have got it read. You've got your skill sets and everything. But if you don't have a cover letter, they may not even read your CV. So as I said, if you know the rules of the game, you're just that much better at playing that game. So I'm going to go through the blocks of this cover letter in a few moments' time. But think about your opening, your introduction, your summation, and then the mindset is you're the solution to a problem, in inverted commas, that a company's having. So you're suggesting that, yes, you're looking for this, you're looking for that. I've got those skills and I can do this, I can do that. And of course, relevant achievements and signing off. Now, with that in mind, again, I'm going to go through this at pace, and please do ask questions if you want to, but some of these things will be obvious. Some of them will be new to you. So I'm just going to go through this, and hopefully, if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask with using the chat box. The opening and the ending is important. I would prefer to keep it more formal than not, because you know what? If you're formal, you don't lose so much. But if you're informal, that might just get somebody's back up, and they may get annoyed that you're not taking this job seriously. So I would always start off with, say, dear, as opposed to our friend in the CV snapshot when they said, "Hi, I'm Chummy. Fancy giving me a job?" So I'd always start off with dear, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on. If you know the person's name, dear Chummy, and then you carry on, you end it off with sincerely. If you don't know the person's name, so dear sir, madam, the grammatical form is yours faithfully. So if you know the person's name, is dear sir, dear Chummy, sincerely. If you don't know the person's name, dear sir, madam, it's faithfully. It's just the rule. Go through the introduction of what you do, why you're applying for the job, where you saw the job. Summarize yourself in terms of what you think you bring to the table, what you have to offer, and then why you. Job description. Think about the job description, and then the job description, because that lays out everything that you need to talk about. Have some research done upon the company you're going for, and include that in the CV. That just makes a person think, oh, they're applying for me only and not for 500 other jobs. Anything that you could talk about the industry, the landscape, anything that you could talk about your experiences that are relevant to the job that you're going for, put that down there. And then things like the picture that you're painting about yourself, anything that, again, is relevant to the position that you're going for or the company, that's the time to include in your section at the bottom. And then, as I said, if you know the person's name, sincerely. If you don't know the person's name, you'll fit yours faithfully. So very quickly, again, think about the role. Think about including evidence that shows that you can fulfill that role. So other things, including the CV that you can, and the cover letter that you could include is a portfolio, perhaps, of your artwork if you're going for a job as a graphic designer, or other aspects of video or pictures that you've taken on event organizing or certain projects that you've done. Include that, your skills and your qualification. Again, focus in on the job that you're going for and tailor make that. And that's really, really important. With that in mind, so I'm just going to carry on with this. Think about a good, strong opener in your application. So I'll read this out to you, but in essence, we're just trying to make you mindful about grabbing that attention. So you know the person's name, either it's in the application or you may have done a LinkedIn search and found out who that person is that's running that recruitment process. So I'm a customer assistant. That's the current job that you're in, employed by the company. It might be a competitor. It might be somebody that's related to that field. I'd like to apply for and state the job that you're going for, because this recruiter may have many jobs that they're recruiting for, and then say where you found out about that opportunity. I heard about that job through a position on, and that's important to state those three kind of things: which job you're applying for, what you're doing, and how you found out about them. And then this is the kind of thing that I think one of you mentioned. Was it? I've forgotten. Was it Org or Fatima? Apologies for the names because my screen's moving so fast. But about describing yourself and those words that we talked about beforehand, make it relevant. If you're in customer services, you want to be friendly, helpful, and patient. So put that down. I describe myself as a friendly, helpful, and patient team member, and that takes pride in offering a great level of customer service. I've been praised for this in the past. So again, if I'm reading that, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is the kind of person I want in my team because this is what I asked for in my job description. And you're satisfying that job description. And then the problem versus the solution. Again, that's a great mindset to have when you're applying for jobs and your CV. So I think I'd be great fit for the role because I pride myself in being able to cope under pressure. And then also it talks about dealing with a range of customers on a daily basis. So you've identified what a customer service role is all about and how you can deliver that to a higher level because of the unique nature of yourself. So again, when you're writing those attributes or those parts of the content, think about the solution to a problem and think about your achievements. And then here we build upon that and talk about other aspects that provide evidence that you do this as a natural thing. So in my spare time, I enjoy volunteering at the local youth group in my village. I'm also taking a short part-time course on counseling. I love dealing with the human mind. So again, you're showing that you've got empathy, you've got the ability to relate, you've got the ability to handle stress, you've got the ability to deal with that job and take it to a higher level. And that's what people are looking for, a solution to a problem that they've got. And then you could end it off with things like, I'd love to follow this on. This is a kind of ideal job that I'm looking for in a brilliant company like yourselves. Please let me know if you want to know anything more about myself. And again, you could put many thanks or best regards or anything. But I personally, and this is only a personal thing, it's up to yourselves, but if you keep it formal, you can't really lose. But again, adapt the tone. It might be a small startup and you might write something more shorter than a kind of a formal ending. Okay, I'm going to pause very quickly because I want to quickly end up with job searching and things like that. But if you have any questions, please do write it down. Tai Teng has written how to write a CV if you just graduated from college. A couple of things you can do, Tai Teng. You've got the careers department that you can always go on. There's lots of stuff online that you can find out too about CVs for freshly graduated students. But think about your job application. As I said beforehand, whatever qualification you've got or whatever projects you've done, the research projects or the kind of topics that you've studied, if that's relevant, highlight that in your application, in your CV and your cover letter, in fulfilling, in satisfying the job description that you're going for. So if there's a particular aspect of either technical or soft skill that you really want to emphasize, use your studies to say that this is what I've done during my studies. You might have studied psychology. And you know what? Psychology goes across not just counseling, but market research, product development, audience management, lots of things that you can use. And that's just one example. As I said, my first degree was in chemistry, and I never used that. But I've got the analytical skills. I've got the ability to put together research topics. I can explain things, certainly how colors change, but you know what I mean on that front. Okay. As I conclude kind of the last part about job searches, and please keep the questions coming if you've got some questions. If you haven't got any questions, that's fine too. But we've talked about a CV. What a CV is all about in terms of the structure and the things to look out for, including keyword analysis and being relating that to the job description. That's important. Then we talk about a cover letter in terms of additional support for your CV that enables your CV to be viewed, and what kind of stuff you can use on your the content that you can use in your cover letter. Here we're talking about a search for your job. Okay, so you lot are probably already doing that. But before we even start talking about where to find jobs, think about your digital footprint. And by digital footprint, I mean what you've been doing online. And I don't mean that kind of thing. There's a family show. Hey, what I'm thinking about here is things like on your social media or any postings that you may have put, which may not be relevant or appropriate to the application you're going for. So things like any photos you shared, videos or posts, pages that you follow, either business or not business, posts that others may have tagged you in on. And think about what that content may show you up as, because you know what? At the very minimum, a company will look at your LinkedIn page. We'll explore that in a second. But in addition to that, they'll do a quick search on your name, for example, and see what pops up. They may do a more higher form of research on you by putting your name into different platforms to find out, what you've been saying on, say, one of the social networking sites. But it's important that you think about your footprint, your digital footprint, and cleanse it or get rid of the stuff that is not relevant to the kind of jobs that you may be going for. You want to create an image or your impression, the best version of yourself, using that phrase, if you know what I mean. And if you know that you've said something in the past that you don't believe in or is too old, well, do something about it. Now, social media is really, really important. You could embrace social media if you want to. I personally, went off social media about 13 years ago, but that was for my digital well-being, as they say. But you know what? Social media can also be a very positive thing because 90% of recruiters will check your social media presence to learn more about you. So you could enhance your personal brand by the content that you've got on social media. After employers' referrals and company websites, social media is the third most important recruitment tool. And about 1/3 of employers use social media to find new recruits. So being on social media, actively writing things that are relevant or commenting on things that are relevant to the kind of landscape that you're in, the jobs that you want to go for, will help you with your visibility on search. So again, visiting the ideas around your personal brand. You are a brand in essence, and you're trying to think about how you promote yourself on that kind of front. So with that, just reevaluate or think about what you've been writing on social media. It might be fine, but if it isn't, think about the fact that that really, really good picture of me with my friends might not be so appropriate for the job role I'm going for. It might be an event organizer and you might be having a fun time at an event, and that might be the exact image that you want to portray, but it might not be. It's important to be mindful about that. your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is an incredibly search engine optimized platform. Your profile on that is visible not just on LinkedIn, but it's also visible on search. So again, lots of free stuff available on LinkedIn, on the LinkedIn platform itself, that gives you ideas, tools, tips on how to create your profile. But the important thing there is, again, have a LinkedIn profile. It will be looked at. Well, I don't know if everybody's going to look at it, but you know what I mean? The chances are that it will be looked at. And if possible, and if you're up to it, join discussions, create your visibility, share your opinions, not that you're opinionated, share your opinions with other kind of people. Come across as a person that's got ideas around the kind of job or the job role or the company that you want to work for, and be an asset to the organization. And again, if you share other people's content and comment on it, then you might come across as a person that's thinking about it, a thought leader perhaps. Right. It's important to balance a couple of things. You can reach for the sky and often try to reach that star, and you might fall. So you might have to regulate your expectations of the jobs that are available to you. But at the same time, be hopeful. Have that optimism in terms of balancing that reality. I want to be a prime minister. Well, that might be a bit tricky, but you know what? I can get into the House of Parliament. I could be a researcher. I can build my way up there, that kind of thing. But to be thinking in a kind of big, that's to say, dare to dream sort of way, but also build it upon your kind of ideas around things you can be doing. So identify trends. That's easy to do nowadays than it's ever been before. Research on the company, research on the landscape. You can go to networking events, you can attend conferences, you can hear from expert speakers. TED Talks is a brilliant platform to find out what people are saying about that particular topic. You can take courses. We've already shared the Google certification. Lots of stuff at Google Digital Garage, online learning platform that you can upskill your digital skills on. You could take further kind of T levels, higher education courses that might help you with. But you can also gain experiences by learning by doing. Offer your experience, or get experience rather, by doing work with other people, other companies, that kind of thing. And you can also step outside your comfort zone and do something that's challenging to get those experience that you have. So again, I'm going a pace at this because then I can ask some open questions, or you can ask us some questions, myself and Tessa. The kind of things that you can use. Search engines. Here I'm talking about things like Google, Bing, and other search engines. Job boards, for example, things like Indeed, Reed, Total Jobs, even LinkedIn itself, and professional networks. Majority of the jobs that are up for offer may not even be visible on normal job sites. So if you have any contacts, if you just, some of you may have just coming out from like academia or academic environment, ask your professors, your course supervisors, if they know any other companies that they can suggest getting in touch with in terms of named person. And of course, you can use LinkedIn to do research on companies too. Now, in terms of job searching, you can think about the category, job title, the date the job was posted, the sector, the company type, the employer. You can search for live jobs, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of searching that you can do. But think about the stuff that motivates you to do that job. Because if you like doing that job, you're going to be doing that much, much more efficiently. Kind of things that you can look out for on your the job description. What are the daily tasks and responsibilities that you'd be up to? What are the specific skills that's required for you to do that role? And the commitment to personal development. Are they going to be training you up, or is it up to you to learn by yourself? And you know what? The salary and the location. Sometimes having so much money isn't always the best goal. I'm not saying what to do. I'm just saying that sometimes getting a little bit less money but doing a job that you like doing, you're going to be fulfilling yourself that much more because of the gratitude that you get from the people around you. But again, these are the kind of things to think about. Don't be just led by one thing. Think about the overall picture. And then as I slowly conclude, think about your values and your goals, because you know what? Asking the question, what are values and goals? We think about how you want to live your life. if you think about focusing on values, values are like a compass that keeps moving in a desired direction, and distinct from goals. Goals are like a specific way to, well, that you intend to execute your values. A goal is something that we aim for and tick off once we've accomplished it. So think about kind of your values, what you stand for, the goals you're going to put into place to get there. And does the company have that? Ideally, you want that to fit. Perhaps you don't have a choice to do that. And a way of getting around this is having a specific, measurable, realistic, and timed response to this. As I quickly run through this, because I'm going to run out of time if I'm not careful, is just thinking about your career goals. Now, if you want to put any last minute questions, you could put that down there. But if you don't, what I like to do is say, this overall, think about your CV in terms of your job description. Think about the job description as the main point of information. Think about the company, think about the values that you've got, think about the kind of jobs that you want to go for. I'd like to say thank you very, very, very much for being with us all this time. And also thank you very much, Tessa, who's been incredible with the chat box and keeping you well satisfied with your answers. Any last minute questions, you can do that. Alternatively, I think Tessa might just post in the feedback form that you can use to provide some feedback about this session. But I'd like to thank you very, very much for sticking with us. That was a very quick 1 hour. I hope you got some ideas to go away and get things done. But thank you very much, and you lot take care. All the very, very